Yep, so we just got handed some of the deck lists here for Josh and Ricky. On Ricky's side, a lot of the decks look fairly straightforward. Not a whole lot of
Yep.
crazy shenanigans here. Josh, however, a lot of one-ofs, a lot of like a combination of ice I expect to see individually, but I don't expect to see them all thrown together. So I kind of want to see how that goes. And then this Nasir deck.
Yeah, the new card I see is we've got the new Code Gate Breaker study guide that just came out.
Super excited.
Very excited. That one, when I saw it, I had to reread it a couple of times to just say, wait a minute, so the power counters stay, right? It just is a super-powered Code Gate Breaker.
I'm going to pull my kit deck back out.
There you go. Dust it off. There is a lot of kit here today as well. So I'm curious, we've got so many good Code Gate Breakers in the meta right now.
Well, I know Zach, right?
Yeah.
Last week at Tulsa, he came in, third, fourth with a kit deck. I was so excited.
Unfortunately, I got to watch that game on stream. He came against the untechable Pacer, bringing the cerebral static,
Atlanta
just
doing
completely
what Atlanta does.
blanking
I'm just saying.
kit. It was both hilarious, yet I still felt a little bit of pain for Zach in my stomach of why did he bring this card and why does my ID not do anything anymore? Another card that I see on here that I think really kind of brought Nasir into the forefront of people's minds, and at least saying this is viable, David. His ability to recur that, you've got the scavenge in there, you've got different ways to bring that back in. I think that's a very good card in Anarch. But I think in these decks that are looking to clone ship things, whether in Exile, Nasir, David seems to be a big include. I know you've been a fan of that, Randall.
I love David, but I've been playing Wizard, so it's really fun to do out of him just because you need that speed and you need that early game, and one big piece of ice kind of shuts it down.
Yeah.
Wizard can utilize him to kind of keep the court poor and really, really extend that early game.
Yeah, that's right. I'm looking through the deck list on Josh's side for Replicating Perfection. Looks fairly standard. I think some of the interesting ones, we've got Crick that's going to be in there. I also see that he has decided to include, Cerebral Static. I think last week, we were talking about what the takeaways were from the Tulsa Regional.
Mm-hmm.
I was amazed. I mean, that card showed up partially because people from our meta are crazy and they like playing some crazy stuff. But I said, I think that is a card that if you look at the impact it had, there were a lot of matches where it really annoyed Leela, Noise, Max, I could imagine, but there was a lot of stuff where it really looked like a viable card.
I mean, and it's kind of weird, right, that the Atlanta meta travels all the way to Tulsa, other side of the world, and comes back and brings a different meta back here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you would think we would just transplant what we have in there, but no. Like, what they did there is now echoing back onto this side of the country.
No, that's exactly right. It's interesting. Some of the other choices in here, we see a couple of Marcus 1.0s. I've seen varying degrees of play of that card as, an additional barrier. But, yeah, been very interesting. But I think a lot of the rest of it, we're into the game. We are ready to go. Okay, so let's set this up. We've got Ricky on the left, Josh on the right. Looks like we've got an Earthrise hotel going, and we've got a pup rezzed in front of HQ. So Nasir probably had a sad face going down to 1 credit when he hit the pup.
All right, Nasir going to the early draw, which I think is kind of the big thing that Nasir needs, and that once you can kind of get that going, like he has a built-in economy. It's a little weird, but the card draw is really kind of what was keeping him out of the meta, I think.
Yep.
And I know we had a player that played him a lot, and he managed to get him into a pretty high point, but I think now it's starting to come out a little more, kind of showing his head outside of random.
Yeah. And we see a personal workshop in the trash. That is not where you want it for Nasir. I mean, that's a very important card for him. So I know we missed the first part of this. It may have been, I don't know if it was on the pup, not having enough money to break through that. I'm guessing that's it.
It was 4 on Earthrise, so I assume he didn't have money to break the pups.
Ooh, ow. That is not – those are the two key Nasir cards. Okay, so we lost off the pup res. He lost both a personal workshop and an Order of Saul. So those are big cards for Nasir. Lost right off the bat, so hopefully he can get those back in play. But we've got uncovered R&D, and then we've got a Chrysium grid that is unresed. I'm going to stay that way, it looks like.
So now this is an awkward place for RP, right? Like, they play that long game, but when you don't have one of your centrals covered at all in the early game, it kind of gets tough to get to that point. Normally RP can hold out for a while given 2 pieces of ice, but let's see how how long that R&D holds up with absolutely nothing in front of it.
And interesting, Josh is packing a Parasite, so he's got the SMC on the board. He can take down that pup, and at this point, replicating, they have money, but they don't have a Sundew. They're not loaded at this point. So, he certainly still has to protect those centrals, because I can see the agendas are starting to build up in his hand.
Of course, Josh can't see that, but I don't know if I would pop that yet to get rid of that pup, just because you don't know what's coming over R&D.
Yep.
A more dangerous piece of ice could be over there, and I would rather have R&D uncovered than HQ.
Yeah, and it's what's so interesting about Nasir is Nasir looks at unresed ice as, hey, this is where a lot of my economy is going to come from. And so, at this point, you got to kind of wait for RP to start acting so you can build your bank account back up.
All right, keeps hammering R&D. And, I mean, RP is poor enough that they're not going to be able to res that Christian grid.
Yep.
It's kind of a weird start all around here. Nasir's good cards are gone. RP with no ice.
I see a Magnum Opus in hand. I mean, that may be this may be the point whether to try and avoid losing it to net damage, but just if RP's not going to do anything, maybe get the Magnum Opus online. We steal an NAPD right off the bat.
And I don't know, that seems a little short-sighted. Like, I know you want to get the agendas quickly, but you can let him draw that into HQ, and the only thing really holding you up is the pup. You can blast it with that SMC, and you really need to get that Magnum Opus out to get that long-term economy going. I think that may come back to bite him later.
Yeah, because another possible play, I mean, you've got Imp in the deck as well, and I don't know if you'd also go broke trying to get the Imp online, but I know, popular with the Future Perfect as well to try and just Imp it away, so to say, hey, I can't score it, but you're not going to get it in hand to score it either.
Right, and once that Imp is out, I mean, you're either forcing RP to slow down as well and get rid of those, or you're going to make them pay their money and res that Christium grid finally because you have legitimate threat on it.
All right, so we get a rainbow. So we get a little bit of money for Nasir here, so he goes up to 3, but no breakers out, and I doubt at the SMC, I don't think he's rich enough to be able to go get anything at that point.
I mean, if he really wanted it gone, I guess he could, pop it, go get his data sucker, and then just start into archives there. But then he still has no way to get the Parasite. So
yeah, I think at this point, I mean, I see the Magnum Opus. You got to do something proactive to get this going. I don't know how much he's going to be able to challenge that remote. He may be able to gain a little bit of money if that's something expensive, but my guess is he's got an Ash or a Caprice protecting what's ever in there. Well, he's going.
Which is, one of those weird things where you can sit there and protect a remote server with literally one piece of ice and Caprice and go, I have a pretty good chance of scoring something here.
Yeah, no, that's right. And that's why, I mean, we've seen Replicating Perfection be the dominant deck, certainly last weekend, and it seems like we got a couple of folks who are bringing it this week.
I mean, the only thing about playing in a tournament is it can stretch out and take a long time, and you end up with a few random splits or time wins. And if you're going to put something there, that's a good one to do.
Well, we got some money out of it. That's the good news here. Now we got to figure out.
I was going to say now's the time to pop
it.
that SMC. He's going to Parasite it, I assume. I mean, it's only a 2 strength, and that is one of the downsides to RP. And I don't know why Parasite Recursion doesn't get played as much as it used to, but they have so much low strength ice rather.
No, I agree with you. I mean, even if I look at the Engineering the Future decks that are playing a lot of the next ice, I mean, Parasite Recursion hits a lot of the good decks hard.
And it just kind of disappeared when, PP VP Cake came out.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's using it on
Interesting.
the pup.
Okay.
I mean, you'd almost think that he can see what we see because we know he's sitting there with, 2, 3 agendas in hand.
Yeah, I mean
that is a smart play. He just doesn't necessarily know that.
I don't know if he put the Nisei down under Caprice, but I know I saw a Nisei in hand. I saw a Kronos project. So, I mean, he's definitely holding some.
With Shaper, I can only assume that the Kronos project is on the board. Especially once those 2 big cards for Nasir went out early.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
Kronos Protocol, one of those cards that's kind of seen a lot of play in the last few months. I know I put it in my deck for one of the store championships, and like 2 weeks earlier I had never seen any of it. 2 weeks later I went and it was everywhere.
Yeah.
Just because Shaper is so strong right now.
Oh, the Opus goes away.
Opus. Hannah David.
Ugly.
Oh, this is not.
Well, this is one of those Shaper situations where I don't know. I mean, he doesn't have clone chips out, but there are times when I always say the last place you want your programs to be is in your hand because it's really sometimes the only time you can't access the programs. But it's a pretty big hit early, so hopefully he can get some clone chips loaded up to get those back or test runs or whatnot.
I mean, he has 6 credits in there. I'm not really sure why he didn't install the Magnum. I think he's getting so wrapped up in his ID,
Yeah.
getting money out of his ID, that he might be kind of losing track of. I mean, you still need
Oh.
your regular ID or your regular credits.
Well, that's a big help because given the high key cards in his trash, I know that a Chronos protocol right now would probably break him if you were to take out all those programs, because I know that Josh is running a lot of one-of programs.
Yeah, I was kind of scared for him. I just assumed that card over in the remote was going to be a Chronos protocol, so I'm kind of happy that that is not the case.
Yeah, and this remote right now on Ricky's side, this is looking real good. I mean, if I've got Tsurugi and I've got a Mimic in the trash and I've got Caprice rezzed and I can get a Nisei counter online, which I'm guessing is what's in that remote, I mean, this is exactly the position Replicating wants to be in. I mean, even if Ricky's still holding a couple agendas in hand, I mean, you just start to fire those off once you get that first Nisei scored.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to kind of assume that other face down card is going to be an Ash as well, so that's just extra. I mean, he's going to sit here and score out an agenda with 2 pieces of ice cleared over the entire board.
Well, we've got the personal workshop out, so
Yeah,
that is
there we go.
helpful, but here comes the Nisei counter. And I mean, this agenda really, I mean, it's been in the course set, so it's been out there forever, but I will tell you, I mean, this agenda is one of the key reasons to be playing Replicating Perfection, and you just see it snowballs you to victory in a way that a lot of other agendas don't. So now Josh is really, I think it looks like he's going to make his mark on trying to run centrals, and I think that's a good play because that remote's going to be really tough to get into.
Yeah, and I think Nisei has only gotten really good lately because, you know, Jinteki can actually leave agendas on the board for a turn, whereas before, you know, all the ice is so porous that you run in, you grab it, but now the RP has become a thing. Now it's taking a little longer. You can tack somebody out, and they can actually get those 4-2 agendas.
Yeah, that's right. Now, this is a tough decision, and this is why Nasir is so hard to play in my mind. I mean, you're looking at a daily business show, great card that you usually want to trash on site, but at the same point in time, you know, Nasir would go down to 1. There's no unrezzed ice on the board, so there's no ability to get
money,
Yeah,
right?
you don't know when you're going to get paid again, and the Magnum Opus is in the trash.
Live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to dig some stuff.
Split his green credits up top. These are 3 apiece, yes? Okay. I think that's a 3 almost. Or 1. That's 1. Okay, so he has 4 credits and 5 credits. Got it.
So we're going to ice up HQ, and I can see a Future Perfect and a Celebrity Gift in hand. So my guess is Ricky's probably on the plan to show him a couple of cards and then try to score out that Future Perfect behind that remote.
And I mean, Josh can't really go and run that face down ice. Like, you'd like to be able to check it and see what it is so you can get some economy going again. But if that's any net damage at all, I mean, you're sitting with 6 cards in your hand and you've already lost half the good cards in your deck. Do you really want to face check a Jinteki piece of ice? Yeah. Of all things, right?
And I think sometimes Replicating Perfection, you know, they get the reputation of they're the Glacier deck, and it's not about really killing you, it's about taxing you. But the reality of it is, I mean, the way they tax you is they put cards like Tsurugi, Komainu, things like that in front of you that if you don't deal with it, it's going to kill you. So if you're running at them without a self-modifying code or a way to protect yourself, I mean, just like you said, you could die.
Right, and it's weird the way that Jinteki taxes you, right? Because you can stockpile any number of credits. I can sit there with 50 credits stockpiled. I'm not going to sit there with more than 5 or 6 cards stockpiled unless I've built my deck around it. So it's one of those taxes that you can't really prepare for, and it causes that weird work compression that everybody loves to talk about so much.
All right, so here's where Nasir's ability starts kicking in, right? He pays off the Magnum Opus before he encounters the Enigma, and then he goes back up to 3, so gets the program in play off the workshop and then gains the ice or gains the credits equal to Enigma's res cost.
He just kind of wishes he had Order of Soul.
Yeah.
And Celebrity Gift shows 2 Jackson Howards, Daily Business Show, Future Perfect, and is that Crick?
It looks like, yep.
Really good card, kind of coming to its own lately out of this last pack. I'm waiting for it to plop down over, you know, archives because, I mean, now we already see that Caprice is sitting in there, so he's just daring him. Sure, come run it. I'll install it, whatever.
And think about if you would have trashed that Daily Business Show earlier, you plant a Crick over archives, and then right back then you get it right back into play on their turn.
All right, so Nasir back up to 5 now. Actually has his econ out, sitting with, an R&D interface over there, but still no way to get through the rainbow.
Yeah, we need to get a breaker going if he's going to have any chance. And the good thing is, I know we saw the Chrysium grid as the unres card protecting R&D. Now that does not protect him. R&D interface just says every time you access, you see an additional card. It's not based on a successful run. So
Right.
the R&D interface will still help him see cards if he gets that online and is able to break the rainbow.
Which is part of the reason I think we've been seeing a little less Maker's Eye lately,
Yep.
is because Chrysium grid is all over the grid. All right, click 3. Not sure what he's doing here. I mean, he has to draw, I assume. I mean, if he doesn't have
think
breakers,
so.
like you have some modicum of economy there.
And this is tough because I think the only draw looking at his deck list is those Earthrise hotels. So to me, I think I totally agree with you, Rand. I think you got to dig at that at this point and get one of those online because I don't think looking at Josh's hand he can win or access cards with what's in it.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like, you look at this board state and you think that the Corp probably has a good advantage right now, but it's still early game. I mean, he had, right up until these 3 installs right here, he had a good position as he could find any breaker at all. All right. So here he goes installing this R&D interface, but it may be a turn too late now that there's 2 pieces of ice there.
I see a lady and a self-modifying code in hand, so we've at least got some ability to go get breakers. Josh has got the Magnum Opus online, so I think Ricky wisely knows that R&D is Josh's best path to victory at this point because that remote is going to be difficult.
He knows what Future Perfect was the only
only
we saw
agenda
in
and then
HQ.
a fistful of Jackson Howards.
But I mean, he has that SMC. He could find another Parasite, but then he's down without breakers again for a little while, and he could go and try to hammer HQ. Stalls,
lady.
So we have a barrier breaker, but no real barrier to speak of except for Rainbow.
All right, so
there we go.
Chip.
All
we needed
right.
that.
So now we can start playing a Shaper game. So now Nasir has some economy set up. He has Magnum Opus. He has Personal Workshop. He has an SMC in hand, Clone Chip on the board. So now let's see what his deck can do. He does have a little bit of lead on him, 3-2, but that Nisi counter is gonna slow him up a little bit.
And for some of the newer players that I know we have watching, you look at this R&D run and say, well, why the heck is he doing that? He's got no breakers. He can't deal with this. Nasir looks at the board and says, well, I'm going to spend down all of the money I have before I hit whatever piece of ice you res. That can pay off the lady. It can clone chip something back in. And then hopefully whatever he's able to bring back in, he can deal with the ice that's put in front of him and then be able to money back up based on whatever that unresed ice is. So we get an Ottman online.
He's kind of begging for it to be a Tsurugi. I think that's the most expensive card, Jinteki plays outside of maybe a Toll Booth. But, with Toll Booth, he's immediately having to pay 3 of the 8 credits he just got.
That's a great point.
Tsurugi is still, I think, the most economically viable for him.
So I'm curious what strength we're putting Ottman at.
We've got a 2, a 4, and a 2. I assume probably 2. Oh, no, 4.
Okay, he wants through the rainbow.
I'm in 4.
And I think that's a reasonable strength. I mean, you're probably going to see Eli in a lot of these decks. Cortex Lock is also at 4. So, I mean, even though the res dice is 2, I could see him making the decision to go 4.
Yeah. I mean, most people put Atman in the deck with the assumption that it's going to sit at 4. Daily Business Show, and he was about to put the card that the runner did not see on the bottom, and he's like, well, let me shuffle these around first.
Yep. And this is the power of Daily Business Show. I mean, once you get to the point where it's online and the runner isn't spending their time, I mean, you can just bottom all the agendas that you don't want to draw and make sure you've just got only the amount you can score in hand. And it's really difficult. I mean, the density is so low as is that it just becomes very difficult, even when you've got an R&D interface, to really see enough agendas to win.
I mean, and Shaper, though, of all people, is not as worried about Daily Business Show as other people just because they can set up that R&D lock. They can hit 3 a turn, and if you want to draw 2 so that I get 2 new cards instead of 1, sure, I'll take that.
Yeah. And that definitely has been a strategy of people just saying, hey, I'll let you have a Daily Business Show. I won't trash it, and I'll just see fresh cards. Oh, we got Excalibur.
But the second you fall behind and you can't start hitting R&D next turn, every turn, then, yeah, you kind of have to start getting rid of those.
So Ricky's clearly going for the play of, Excalibur. That's going to make it, assuming that Josh can't bounce off that. Uh-oh. Nize scored. Well, now, Nasir was looking a little bit behind earlier, but we're on match point now.
Yeah. And, I mean, the other side of that, though, is that if there's any corp that can come back from 5-2 or even 5-0, it's going to be RP. They play for that late game, and once the board gets set up, suddenly the runner's hope kind of drains from their face.
Yeah. Now, if I'm Ricky, I'm guessing he was hoping to score out that future perfect earlier, but at this point, I think he's got to really focus in on protecting R&D, because I think one more top deck of an agenda. I mean, this game's done.
I mean, at least, so you have 2 of the Nices out. You have one of the cerebral, what's the one over here? Oh, the Chronos Project out. At least most of the agendas that are still in the deck can protect themselves.
True.
They're going to be future perfects. They're going to be NAPDs. And I know right now NAPD is not particularly protected because he's still sitting in 7 credits, but he has to still make those runs through there.
So Ricky, I'm trying to see if he's got ice in his hand. He's got a Himitsu Bako, but that's not going to do a ton. But, well, we've got the lady.
And he does have the other Nisi in his hand, so there's literally no agenda in his deck that does not have some sort of self-protection.
Yeah.
Which I think is the big thing the RP has and no one else does, right? And that's why they're so good right now. Is you can't just take the agendas. And that might be why this new NBN deck, the taxes agendas, is becoming a thing. And I think you kind of played a version of it,
that's right.
Where you can't just deal the agendas. You have to pay extra. You have to do extra, something on top of all the ice that's already on the board.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, these taxing strategies have done very, very well. I mean, corp economies have definitely gotten a big boost through the last couple of cycles, and it just kind of challenges runners to say, hey, you're either building your rig or you're trashing my stuff, but you can't do it all as quickly as I can, and so very interesting.
Oddly enough, I think that was kind of a reaction to the big parasite recursion thing that came up for a while, because ice was useless. You'd play ice and it would go away, especially after Warring Chaos and all the cutlery stuff. Well, now no one's playing the stuff that destroys ice, but the kind of decks it created are still out there.
Yeah, that's a great point. So Josh trying to figure out probably the best way. I don't know if he's trying to challenge this remote, but in my mind, I think that remote is probably dead to him at this point, and R&D seems like a pretty lucrative place to try and fish for the winning agenda.
I mean, it's just a Sarugi and a Caprice and an Ash and, probably an extra 4 credits on top of that. I mean, it's not that big of a server.
So we used the Nisei counter. Where was he running that he bounced him with the Nisei counter? Was that an R&D run or was that a remote run?
I mean, I would assume it has to be a remote run, right? Are you really going to use a Nisei counter up on an R&D run when you know you have 2 agents in hand, 4 scored, 1's on the board? So they have something like a 1 in 8 chance of hitting your last agenda. Is that really worth your Nisei counter?
I don't know. And I've got to imagine it's pretty nerve-wracking when you're 1 agenda away from losing, but yeah, that's a tough one to spend it on.
Well, as soon as this turn comes up, he's going to be 1 agenda away from winning as well.
There we go.
And with another Nisei counter.
So he's got to fade. He's got a turn where he's got to get that future perfect out of hand and install advance. So he can use another Nisei counter to stop the R&D run because Josh has to hit the Excalibur and can't run again, but he's got to be able to fade the next turn of Josh not pulling anything off R&D.
Yeah, and for all of this, Josh being way ahead, being 5-2, having a rig set up, it doesn't matter, right? Ricky on his next turn can play down that future perfect, advance, and now you have to not only spend enough money to break the Sarugi, you have to luckily win a Caprice side game, you have to be able to pay Ash, you still have to be able to access it. And so with all of, 1 ice on a remote server, I mean, Ricky is now in a commanding position just that fast, and with a Nisei counter just to top it off.
Yep. All right, so we're seeing what's in archives.
I mean, do you just run R&D here this turn and hope? I mean, it's a slim chance, but once the next agenda hits that remote, you're going to be, well up the creek.
Yeah, I think that given Ricky's play last turn, I think he'd probably let Josh break through the rainbow, end the run with Nisei. He can't run back again because of Excalibur. And then just install advance next turn. That seems like a pretty viable way for Ricky to play this out.
And I know this is going to become a shock to you, but he does not have singularities in this deck. So I don't think he's going to be able to wipe that.
Yeah,
remote out.
And this is the problem: is that even with singularity, Caprice
can just shut it down before it happens. Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, Caprice makes a lot of runners sad these days, and speaks to part of the power of replicating perfection. I think she is probably between her and Future Perfect, they are probably the key reasons to play the deck.
And Josh kind of feels this this desperation that he's in right now, and you see he's taking a little extra time on this turn, slowing down, seeing if he can do anything. And in the back of his mind, he's going, well, I don't really have a shot here. I mean, I think you had to run this turn to make him burn that Nisei counter, because otherwise he's going to do exactly what you said, right? He's going to let you run R&D, burn the Nisei counter, or you have to run HQ and then run out somewhere else's turn to even get a shot at that remote.
Yeah.
So I think it may have been a little bit of a misplay not to run R&D.
Yeah, and part of the challenge earlier, I mean, we had self-modifying code and a clone ship out on the board earlier. I mean, maybe that was the time to go parasite the Tsurugi to where, at this point it would have ticked down, the Tsurugi would be down, and then you're just at least, you could maybe run archives and then try to run it Caprice and make Ricky spend a bunch of money and eventually win a side game. That may have been a viable strategy earlier, but like you said, I mean, he's on the clock now, and at this point, Ricky's going to be looking to score out and just put him under a ton of pressure next turn.
All right, sees one card R&D, nothing. Sees.
Oh, wow.
Yep, got it.
Well, you live by R&D, you die by R&D, and this time, R&D just didn't give Ricky the support he needed, even with the daily business show.
But with RP, you got to kind of trust in a little bit. Like I said, most of your agendas defend themselves, and that's one of the benefits is you don't have to have a ton of ice on these different servers. But I still think Ricky probably would have liked to see more than the 5 pieces he did.
Yeah, agreed. Well, the good news is that replicating perfection and versus Nasir game was one of the quicker ones I would have imagined. So we got plenty of time for the second game. Yeah, exactly.